Anyway, here are my thoughts about Ghost of Yōtei so far. Um, I was really excited for this game, and was super stoked when it came out. I bought it as soon as it came out. Was playing it. There were some reviews, advanced reviewers who played it and were like, it's good, but not that great. Um, Especially like Skill Up. I usually agree with him most of the time, especially in regards to writing in video games. That's like one of my core requirements for something to be good. If your writing is dog shit, then it really just brings down the game and you're not as invested. And all the other flaws become more apparent because you're not locked in. You just notice all the flaws. Now, I've been playing this game for, I don't know, I'm like halfway through, I guess. I got the main area done, this area and this area done, this area completely done, except for, strike the tree. And then I'm on the Kitsune quest line. And then I still have to do Saito's training grounds and the twins, and then, the end of the game, whatever. I originally was playing this back, when it was released, and then I rage quit when someone online posted spoilers for the end of the game without any tags, and I was really pissed off. I saw a dead body on the ground in a tree, like the first game, and my first thought was, oh, they just redid the entire game. And I quit because it's stupid. It's stupid to, completely redo Ghost of Tsushima and just change variables a little bit and then have the same exact ending. It's dumb. So I quit playing for a while and then, tried to memory hole it. But I got pulled in again, and I'm a completionist. I try to do everything as much as I can, especially if the game is fun, right? This game is very, very, very beautiful. It's very well done in graphics. The writing is not there. It's Here's where the problem is. Ghost of Tsushima, they decided they're going to do a Kurosawa film for a video game, and it had a cast of characters and a main character that supported this premise, and the voice actors were phenomenal to this day. Like, I feel like Eric Steinberg owes me monetary compensation for his portrayal of Lord Shimura. And I cried and cried and cried over his acting and what you had to do in that game. It was done well. Now, there's some critics that say the writing in Ghost of Tsushima was not done as well, but the writing could be forgiven because it was new. You had this beautiful swan song for the PS4. It was a beautiful game, beautiful, innovative UI. It got rid of the Ubisoft tracking, and you had the wind, and you followed the birds, and da 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 da. And this game in Yōtei tries to do everything, and there's this trend in game development and publishers where they try to do everything and please everyone and make it so shallow that no one likes it. It's just Not good. So here's where the problem is, right? So at least in one Tsushima game, you had this phenomenal cast of characters to carry you through this story. Whether you believe the story was good or not is up to the interpretation, but they had that ensemble cast of characters that was phenomenal. In this game, there is no ensemble cast of characters. Um, it's just Atsu. It's just her. And you are on a quest for revenge. It set up this horrific event in the very first moment of the game, and it's like, okay, you're this badass. You escaped death, and you're on this quest for revenge against the people who murdered your parents, and at the time, you believe they murdered your brother as well. And you're left with nothing but revenge. The problem is, Sucker Punch does not have the writing chops to do this story justice. They thought they should just crib from, again, a Kurosawa movie. However, they don't have an ensemble cast of characters to help carry this through. You just have Atsu, who is this crabby lone wolf character who gives you no impetus or reason to care about her because she doesn't get involved with, she doesn't have any friends, she doesn't have, it's just her. And she's very, like, I don't know if it's the direction the Sucker Punch gave to her voice actor, but um she just doesn't have the emotional range to carry this story. And it's not their fault because, again, this story is just not written well. um in my opinion, how I would make this story better is, right now it's got a revenge story in an open world game where you have to go help everybody in this area, like find their lost cow, find their lost flute, whatever. Like, you gotta, it's made so you explore and enjoy the scenery, and it is beautiful, but it does not match the tone of the story they're trying to tell. This should have been a more focused story. Like, okay, you want your revenge story. Atsu, your main character, has to be tough as nails, and the revenge has got to be eating Atsu out from the inside out. Like, it's got to be consuming her. And it should have been more focused. Like, it should have, you know, she's finding information on where to find them. Right now, she's just kind of told, okay, and you see down here, you have your missions, right? Which design wise is cool. It really is. But it's kind of like it tells you exactly where to go. No, she needs to find clues to where to go find these people. Not just, hey, here's a marker of where to go. And this should not have been, I understand it's not true open areas, these are just biomes, but these should have been more streamlined and smaller scale. Like, these look like they're small scale, but they're really very, very large. So kudos for them for creating an open world game in biomes where it feels like you're going everywhere because it's so huge. But again, this should have been smaller scale, like really, really small, laser focused. She should have been on her quest on revenge, killing herself in the process. Like, each time she fights one of the bosses, she gets like seriously hurt, and like the very first boss, the snake, she's got to be coming back from death because revenge is consuming her, and she's hurting herself in the process. I think Jubei, her brother, should not even be in the story. It's dumb. It's just reheated nachos from the first game. Like, a lot of this stuff is gorgeous, but it's reheated nachos of the first game. Like, remember this? Remember when you were doing this? Here's some Sumai painting. Here's, you playing this shamisen. And I love the shamisen, and they should have actually, instead of you just randomly like wandering the land, sitting there contemplating and learning a new song as you take in your environment, you should have actually been using the shamisen to like infiltrate enemy bases, and play your shamisen and be a spy. That's how you should have used the shamisen. And this, like, for this area, for example, she should have been climbing into the castle and then just fucking shit up. She should have been like setting shit on fire as a distraction and then like murdering them. Like right now the game is set up where you're just a murder hobo and you just happen to be a murder hobo for good and you're like la 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 traipsing around. There's no sense of tension or scale. And I think in this revamp of what I think they should have done, they have to give her some tension, and Jubei is not that tension. Jubei is not that tension. They should have given her like her own band, like she's fighting the Yōtei Six, get her own band of other people that she's gonna fight where they're your companions, okay? You need companions for the story to work, and she has none, and you don't give a shit about Atsu, and the story just falls apart because who gives a shit about your revenge? Like, really, who cares? So they should have given her her own band, and then in each time she goes to fight a boss, maybe one of them betrays her. Maybe she's like, fighting like her companion and a boss or something, just raise the stakes, raise the tension. There's no interpersonal tension. Like, she's aligned on everything. Like, okay, I'm just going to go wander the countryside and go, just happen to stumble and murder somebody. No, she needs to be contemplative. She needs to murder these people in their sleep, make them terrified to go take a piss. Like, she should not be like la 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 collecting, songs and sword sheaths and stuff. Get rid of all the collectible shit. It does not match with the story tone. It just does not. She needs to be laser focused and she needs to go on her quest for revenge. And I'm sorry, like this does not match any of her tone. Like this just does not work. And the puzzles are dumb. I agree with Skill Up. Like if you're gonna make this for younger kids, then your story needs to be different. If you're gonna make this for adults and have like a Kurosawa Game of Thrones shit, then the puzzles need to go. They're dumb. They're just really dumb. And again, they don't match the tone. Like you need to get rid of all this shit. You need to be laser focused. And maybe it would have been like, I don't know, like a tunnel game where she's in a biome, she's collecting information, she's going to these gambling dens and inns, playing her shamisen, collecting information, and then makes her way to the boss, and then kills them in their sleep, or has the big duel, whatever. And then they, like in the first game when you're building up your legend of the ghost, she needs to build up her legend as this assassin because that's who she is. She's not a murder hobo. She needed to be an assassin, and they did not do that. The tone is just dumb. And I'm just, there's no stakes, there's no reason why you care, there's no tensions, and the story is just not written well. It's just not. And then, I read about like the end half of the game, and you're meant to feel sorry for the guy you're off to get revenge against. And I'm like, that is not the story. Okay? This is a revenge story, not feel bad for the villain story. And in revenge stories, you either have the hero like get revenge at any cost, even if it costs them their soul or their life. They can get to that precipice at the end and then kind of walk away, but you can't build this up where it's both sides the entire game. You can't both sides it the entire game. You just can't. I don't give a shit. Like, I'm gonna murder you, and then you're gonna piss your pants and cry about it. Like this story has no stakes. And Skillup touched upon it in his review for Yōtei, where in the first game, you had the historical stakes of your island being invaded. And to build upon that, you cared about the first game because you're defending those people, and you had personal conflict that you had to resolve because your code will not allow you to act this way. However, you are the only one defending that island, so Jin had to bend and bend and bend his code till it broke to defend his people because nobody else was fucking doing anything. The samurai were just more concerned about their power and prestige and their place in society than actually helping people, because they didn't have the numbers and they wanted to keep their class structure rather than doing what Jin was doing, which was empower the people, show them they can defend themselves. And in that process, he accidentally showed them, hey, you really don't need the samurai. They're just there to kick you and kick your face in the dirt. They're not there, you know? So you had all these layers in Tsushima. You had the layers of Jin going through this emotional journey, from this naive samurai to realizing, you know, breaking his code and trying to do everything he could to save everybody, basically inventing guerrilla warfare on his island, becoming this unspeakable uh, assassin against Mongols to save people. That was his whole entire driving emotion and through point, was he needed to save his island at any cost. And you cared about that. And his companions were there to help him. Their stories were interwoven. There was conflict with the companions, like Ishikawa and his apprentice, or I forget her name, but she needed Jin, but she also wanted to save her brother Taka. And, there was some conflict there, and she was kind of self motivated in that. And she was left with nothing at the end, and she had to stay and help the people and help Jin. Like, and then, it's just, they had all these interpersonal, self contained stories, but they were interconnected with the main story. And it all worked. There was layers to her story. Like, she invented the ghost to rally the people, and the ghost wound up killing her brother. Not Jin personally, but the story of the ghost and the ideals of the ghost, um, wound up killing her brother. And there's just layers and layers and layers to that story. There are no layers to this story. There's just flat. Everything's flat, and you just don't care. Like, it's very boring. It's very boring to be a murder hobo. Like, if you're into being a murder hobo, you're going to have a great time. But if you actually want layers and stories and complexity, there's no complexity here. Everything's phoned in. Like, they just took everything from Tsushima, like the locations or the assets, dialed it up to 11, said, wow, that's beautiful, and then called it a day. It's just the writing is not at the level it needs to be for a revenge story. And it's just really disappointing and boring, to be honest. And, you can skip the side quests, but at the same time, you need them to build up your weapons, or, you don't know what's tied to what. So, like, maybe you can, and you still have to do the bamboo strikes, and you still have to do the hot springs, so you can, like, boost yourself up. But it's stupid in this revenge setting because, again, the tone does not match the tone of the story you're trying to tell. I think they should have just combined the stamina and the health, um, and the shamisen song thing into one, and then maybe she learns something at an inn and rests at an inn, and that's where you get the boosts and the buffs. Like, she can go from gambling den to gambling den, and then when she rests at an inn, then she can, like, buff up. But all this collectible shit does not match the tone and the complexity of what they're trying to tell. And it's just this inconsistent uh, aggravation between this serious story they're trying to tell, and this bullshit open world la 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 traipsing the countryside. It's just like I said earlier, when you don't have a strong support and a strong base for your game, all the flaws become more evident. And then that's all I see as I traipse around, you know, killing watchtowers and enemy bases and having snow ninjas jump out of the snow. Like, that makes no sense. You're sitting in the snow for hours hoping somebody might walk by a road. Like, you're not jumping me, bro. You're gonna become an ice mummy. Like, that's dumb. It's just dumb. Like, they video game this and it makes sense for a video game, but it does not make sense for the tone of the story you're trying to tell. And in regards to, like, maybe the people of each biome, like, maybe you recruit them as your own small army or something, because again, Atsu, as a person with revenge, would not be helping people rescue their farm or, find their lost apprentice, whatever. She's on her way to commit revenge. So in order to make her care about each biome, maybe, in your band of thieves and rogues on your way to kill each boss, maybe, you try to recruit local people to back you up, like if things go south while you're attacking the boss and torching their castle. Like, you recruit like a rogue guerrilla army, right? Like, again, the tonal inconsistencies just don't match. And I get they published this game within a good time frame, because it's been like, 4 or 5 years since Ghost of Tsushima, so they released this in November. So they did this at a good clip. I'm sure they were laser focused because they could reuse assets from the first game to build this. Just make it prettier with the better graphics and stuff. But I think they really should have had the story tweaked more and then thought about their world design. I don't think this open world design, even in biomes, works well for the story they're trying to tell. Like, it just doesn't. And it's just all the missteps are just glaringly obvious in this game, and you're just filled with boredom and disappointment.